Jillian Sidoti, how are you?
Good. How are you, Jeff? Thanks, everybody, for joining us today on this episode of the Last Life Ever podcast. I'm Jillian Sidoti. That's Jeffrey Holst. And today we're talking to Zora O'Neill. And Jeff, kind of an unusual topic today. What are we talking to her about?
Oh, well, listen, first off, let me tell you, Zora is our first ever return guest.
That's true.
We had her on the show a few months ago to talk about her book, All Strangers Are Kin, which is a great book. It's one of my favorite books about the Arabic language, which I realize is sort of a minor subset of books, but it is a category that I have read more than one book on, two, in fact. But Zora is my favorite. So Zora, if you're listening, it's the favorite. But anyway, so we had her on, and she was telling us also at that time about how she's sort of the master expert of throwing dinner parties. I don't know if that's exactly how she phrased it. We'll see when she comes on. And we're like, wow, it would be great to have you come on right before Thanksgiving. And then we pushed it off because of coronavirus and scheduled for now so people can throw these giant dinner parties for Christmas. So let's see what Zora has to say about that.
Help me, my brother, can you lend me a hand as I walk through this land of confusion? If we give to each other, then there's nothing to take. Let's live life for the moment before it slips away.
Zora, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be back. How nice to see you.
Yeah, no, it's good to see you too. I wasn't joking when I said in the intro that your book is my favorite book about Arabic. But actually, it's also one of my favorite books about traveling in general. And I've read a lot more traveling books than I have Arabic books. I mean, it's not quite as good as Michael Crichton's book Travels, but, besides that, you're right up there.
Thanks.
So anyway, thanks for being here to talk about how to throw a dinner party. So, Jillian, are you planning a big dinner party for Thanksgiving or Christmas, I should say?
My dog didn't like the idea, but a dinner party, I guess. I am thinking,
hundreds of people, right? Hundreds.
I want to hear what Zora says about throwing a big dinner.
So how do we throw a party during coronavirus?
You just don't. You don't. I'm sorry to be the hard line here. And I'm speaking against my own interests, but don't do it.
All right. Well, that's the show, guys. Thanks for coming on. Simple. No, I mean, actually, in fairness, of course. I mean, we all know that. I mean, this has been a weird year for everyone, and when we planned this, we thought maybe by now we would be able to actually be looking at dinner parties and stuff like that. But I don't know how it was for you for Thanksgiving, Zora, but I know for Jillian and I, we didn't have big Thanksgivings. In fact, I had Thanksgiving dinner, just my wife and I, the two of us, and it was nice. My dad dropped off some food on my front porch and said, "Your food's on the front porch. Come go get it." And that was really sweet of them and his wife, of course, doing that. And but it wasn't the same, right, as having the family get together that you're used to. So same for you, I think, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't even cook any. I checked out completely. Stayed home. Did not make a single Thanksgiving food thing. We had duck. Anyway, it was good. The duck was great, but it was like.
I thought you were gonna say you made like ramen noodles or Chef Boyardee, but you had duck. That's kind of fancy.
Really fancy, but it was duck in a can. It was duck confit that somebody had brought us like years ago. A house guest had brought us, and we opened up the can, crink, 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 and we fried it up in a pan, and that was our dinner.
Wow! So that was like the spam of duck. I didn't know that was a thing, but
it really was.
Yeah,
I recommend duck confit in a can if you can get hold of it. I don't know where you can get it, but
it's something I've never seen, to be honest
I
with you.
know. And it was, as soon as we ate it, we were like, oh, we need more of that, but nobody's going to carry it in their luggage to us anytime soon.
It came from someone when they were traveling, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do you know what region of the world it was from?
Oh, it's French. It's
French. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, all right. So for all of our French listeners, if you want to send Zora some duck in a can, she's going to be she's going to be super happy. We'll make sure to get that out to her.
Merci.
Well, what are you recommending people do? I mean, we can't sit around eating duck in a can for the rest of our lives. And obviously, especially here in California, you can't do anything. They closed even outdoor activities now. So we're back on lockdown as if we were in March for the rest of the year, which is really, it's sad. I get it. I understand it. But it's unfortunate that it has to happen at this time of year. So what are you recommending for people to do to kind of get through the holiday season?
Well, I mean, what Jeff's family did for him is great, dropping off food for people, because I think we're all kind of sick and tired of this situation, but don't underestimate like how thrilling your normal food is for somebody else, because we're all sick of the food we've been cooking and the food we've been ordering and all that kind of stuff. So even like, it doesn't have to be a big occasion, just like take some of your normal casserole or whatever over to a friend's house and drop it off, and they'll be so excited for the change of pace. I did go, the only socializing I did this year really is I went to my mom's house in New Mexico back in the summer, and I ended up staying for a really long time because the whole quarantine took up so much time and And then another reason I didn't leave was because I had started cooking for my mom, and she was like, oh my God, what is this? What is this? And it was all my normal food, but she had been driving herself crazy with her normal food. So I showed up with my like standard recipes. And so it was really gratifying to have somebody else be excited about my food. And then I was eating all her stuff out of the freezer. So it was a nice little symbiosis. We were fortunate to be together, but I feel like you can do that kind of exchange with other people without the face-to-face meal and still get a little like, this reminds me of, oh, I love when my friend cooks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me, and probably not to anyone else in the world, but to hear you talking about your mom actually just now, because I was thinking I feel like I know her from your book, because you talked about her in the Morocco section of your book, and I know that's off topic, but it just seemed really weird, so I thought I'd tell you. But that's great that you're able to spend that time with your family, because a lot of people this year, I actually went and saw my mom last weekend, because I have a doctor, an oncologist in Michigan I have to see once a year. So I had to make this trip to Michigan. I drove up on Thursday and back on Saturday. So it was a very nice, 12 hours each way. Michigan shut down, so there's nothing to do up there. But I did go see my mom 6 feet socially distanced with a mask on, but it's still at least, in the same room and having a face-to-face conversation. As much as I love Zoom and StreamYard and all these kind of platforms, it is a little bit different to be in the same room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was going to go visit my dad, do the same thing I did as visiting my mom, but then he's in Santa Cruz in California, but then, cases went up and it just doesn't seem wise. So that had been my Christmas plan, was like, I'm just going to go out to California for a month, but then this situation.
I would not recommend coming here for even 1 minute.
I called my dad and I was like, hey, I have this house sitting option. And he was like, oh, that sounds good. And then he called me back the next day. He's like, nope, hospitals are full. Don't come.
I know. Right.
That even crossed my mind. What was I thinking? Anyway.
Yeah. I thought about getting a big Airbnb somewhere and just like forcing people to all come to a place that doesn't have as many cases. I mean, like we're just going to go quarantine together for a while and just hang out. But it's really not practical. People can't, if your life is like mine or Jillian's or sounds like yours, we can actually do things like take a month off. But the majority of people can't just go for a month to California, even if they wanted to, and there wasn't a coronavirus problem there.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. And the other day I did have this feeling, like, to be honest, okay, so I wrote a whole cookbook called, well, it was called Forking Fantastic when it was published back in 2009. Now it's out as an ebook. It's called How to Throw a Dinner Party Without Having a Nervous Breakdown. So
I kind of like the first title better, honestly, but
anyway, I figured we need to cut to the chase with the ebook. But so I wrote this whole book, and I feel very strongly about like the power of having dinner parties. And honestly, through this whole virus situation, I haven't like craved it at all. Like there's something about maybe the like global, like everyone's under the situation, and it just seems wrong to even like want to have dinner with people until just like 2 days ago, I was standing in my kitchen and I was remembering what it's like to be like cooking in the kitchen, like preparing for the meal, and like somebody is hanging out, like leaning on the door in the kitchen talking to you while you're cooking and and I like that was the thing I missed the most, was sort of that, you know, having a friend over, just standing around and cooking in the kitchen. And there's no way, like there's no getting around that, unfortunately.
So what do you think we can do? I mean, I love the idea of bringing people, you know, food, but like, let's talk about your situation where you were going to come out to California. What do you suggest, like reaching out to people who maybe you can't bring food to?
Right. So I have to say that I hate Zoom. I can't handle it I mean, like talking to you two is manageable. Any more people, it freaks me out, and I just like sit in the corner and never say anything because I hate interrupting the whole, you know, the like grabbing the mic on Zoom kind of thing. So I can't do it. But I have had like 3-person lunches on Zoom with people that after the first 10 minutes feel really normal. Like it's just me like sitting at my table, like having lunch with a couple friends, and the interface becomes less awkward. And of course it's, you know, and we show what we're eating. So there's like a brief, like, oh, we're all having whatever. So it's a sad simulacrum, but I feel like it's also emphasizing what is important about eating with people. Like, okay, so you didn't make a super fancy whatever, or you didn't try a super, like when you throw a dinner party in real life, it's very easy to get consumed with all the details of the food and the wine. And I don't blame anybody for that at all. Like that is an exciting part and a creative part of it. But in a way, it's kind of good to have this time to remember, like the important thing about eating together is eating with people and the conversation you have, and not, you know, whatever happens to be on your plate.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. But there is something about the shared experience of having something that, you know, it seems to me that the most memorable meals I've had have been when we've tried new things completely as a group, or we've messed something up really bad. And those are actually maybe the best of all. Like if you really mess something up, and then it's like, okay, we're just going to order pizza.
Goes down and right, goes down to the lore. That's good. Actually, that reminds me of a really great thing I have done in this pandemic time that does get over the awkwardness of Zoom, which was I took an online cooking class. It happened to be with an organization that's based here in New York City, which I love, and am honestly too lazy to do it in real life. I mean, I have done it, but haven't done it in years. It's an organization called League of Kitchens, and they hire, all the teachers are immigrant women from different countries, and they teach their own cooking traditions. So I took a class in Persian cooking with a woman who was so great. So now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it did have some of the elements of a good dinner party in that it had like new people to meet. There were the other people in the class, and like through Zoom, you get to see other people's kitchens. That's always interesting. And the teacher, Mab, was fantastic and like such a character. And because it was a class situation, it got over a lot of the awkwardness of Zoom. Like, we're not all pretending to have a natural conversation. But Mab is like directing us what to do and being like, okay, now you chop your garlic and now you do this. And okay, how is it going with your rice? Show me your rice. And like people are picking up their pots and going like that and stuff. So it was wonderful. I highly recommend it. And what I would like to do, and just have not managed to schedule, is like get my whole family together, because they're all in different time zones, get them all together and have us all sign up for one class. And then in the end, we are all eating the same thing.
That's great.
And we have met a new person and we've learned something different. And maybe we've gotten over, because some people in my family are a little like, Zoom, like worse than I am. So it might be a good,
that's neat.
I mean, it is hard. Like if you have a big group, it's hard, but you're right. If it's a class, it's kind of, one person's talking most of the time. Right. And then other people are just sort of asking questions or, showing their food or whatever. So there isn't as much interaction, which makes it easier.
Right. It takes some of the,
you let us know. I mean, if you want, I would volunteer to teach you how to make like macaroni and cheese
from a box,
scrambled eggs.
Teaching from your own food traditions. This is very
that's right. That's right. It would definitely be from a box. I'm also really, really good at frozen meals. So there's that.
See, you could just talk people through that stuff. I mean, I don't know. I remember years ago, before this pandemic, like speaking to younger people who were a couple I knew who had a long distance relationship, and they would just every night like open up their Google Hangout or whatever and like watch movies together and stuff like that. So I'm a little envious of people who are younger than me, who are kind of used to this video interaction and used to having it in the background. And maybe that's just what I need to force myself to do, and force other people in my family to do also. And just be like, whatever, it's open. Like maybe we're not sitting there talking intensely to each other all the time, but it's open and you can hear me like go to the kitchen and check on something and then come back. I don't know. That might be another way. Like it doesn't have to be a huge occasion. Some of it's the mental attitude too.
Well, that's something. So Jillian and I are essentially the same age. I mean, she's way older than me, but by like 3 months. But I mean, we I don't want to speak for you, Jillian, because maybe at your age it's different. But for me, I'm not used to this at all. Actually, like this is new to me, and I mean, I don't feel like I'm old. I didn't use Zoom every day. I didn't. Right. I mean, I did once in a while. I mean, someone wants to do a show like this. I've been on other people's shows, but it wasn't something I did every day. But the last 6, 8, 10 months, whatever it's been now, I feel like Jillian and I do this a lot. Like we spend a lot of time on Zoom. We're working on some joint projects and stuff, and a lot of times we just are like, we're working on other stuff simultaneous, and it's just on the screen.
Right. Yeah. Which, maybe, we just need to get more used to that.
It's hard though.
It is hard.
Yeah. I'm like some people in my family, I haven't really talked to at all because they don't do Zoom and I don't really love talking on the phone that much. It's never been, I don't mind it, but it's not like my thing. Like if I'm driving, I'll talk on the phone. Right. That's the only time I really care.
We still have a landline at our house, and in the kitchen we have like one of those big wall phones with the big heavy cradle and a curly cord. So nice. I get on that phone and like you can stick it like this and like wash the dishes and stuff. So I occasionally do that.
I didn't realize that landline still worked. I thought they actually had
no, actually, when they installed fiber optic at our house, they're like, yeah, it'll still work. And then it didn't. So we had to get some little extra interface thing to make it work again. Or the rotary dial anyway.
So you have a fiber optic rotary dial phone?
We do. You now have to, it's frustrating. You have to dial extra slow to make sure, because it has to like go through the little filter thing. So you can't be like super speed dial like you used to do when you were a kid. Lost skills. Anyway.
Yeah, kind of like texting with your thumbs.
Right.
Yeah, it's just not very useful anymore.
I know. Anyway, yeah, and throwing a dinner party, not a skill that is really relevant.
Well, I'm optimistic that one might come back. Unlike some of the other things like, rotary dial phone skills.
Right.
It's probably not on the return trip anytime soon.
Right. So, now we're talking about dinner parties again. I have to give credit to my friends Joel and Floor, who back in the summer did invite me over for dinner, and it was a huge treat. I think because it is probably not going to happen again soon. I blocked it out, but they had like a huge table. I sat at one end of the table. They sat at the other end of the table. They had made like separate bowls of everything just for me.
So like it was a super socially distanced
dinner.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, I mean, selfishly, like I'm usually the one throwing the dinner. So it's rare that I get to go over to somebody else's house for dinner. So it was like a double whammy of somebody looking out for me, and I really appreciated it. So if you're in somewhere in a climate that is not painful to sit outside.
Yeah, well, and if it's warm out too, like the outside stuff is a thing. Like you could definitely do some kind of like barbecue type, outside dinner parties at picnic tables and stuff. And like some areas, it's it's objectively less risky, frankly. I mean, the number of cases in my town is much lower than most places.
That's good.
Yeah, well, it's good for me, but I mean, and part of it is too, like if you're in a smaller town, the percentages are just lower because there's less people bumping into each other.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what it is. Like I guess Alaska probably pretty low case loads, right? I'm just guessing. I don't really know.
But let's just say, obviously, we're not going to have a dinner party right now, right? But just for the sake of argument, let's just say I wanted to have a dinner party for me and my husband and my 3 kids. What would be a good idea? Like, how could I? And let's just pretend for a second that these kids are older children and they enjoy going to dinner parties. We'll just pretend that we're not making chicken nuggets. We're not making mac and cheese or hot dogs or anything like that. We're going to make like real adult choices. What would you recommend?
I want to take this. This is what she's going to recommend. She recommends you take a Jell-O mold and what's like that green slime stuff that you made for Thanksgiving.
Did you cut her off?
No, she cut herself off, I think.
No, I did, because my dog started again. But like, I don't know. I made a Jell-O mold for Christmas because for Thanksgiving, because I kept threatening my kids with the Jell-O mold. And then it took me 5 minutes to make. I was so proud of myself. I made it all beautiful, and then I made them come and admire it and everything. But it's like a Jell-O mold doesn't take any time, so it costs like $5.
But it's still something that is like an occasion, like
right.
That's worth it. That's fine. That is exactly the kind of food I think you should be like. If you want to make it an occasion instead of just like, oh my God, here we are on night 250 of quarantine.
Yeah.
Like you want to make it an occasion somehow. So it is an excuse to be like, what's that recipe? I've been meaning to try. Who knows what it is? So it's going to be different for everybody. I mean, I'm always a fan of like a whole roast chicken always looks exciting and it's not that hard. And, get something interesting to put in the salad and make a special dessert. And, it's more about the pacing of the meal and having like a little extra course or something like that than necessarily like spending a lot of money on the ingredients or killing yourself with some super elaborate thing. But I think the trick is to like get out of the rut and do something a little extra or super extra just just to make it a special occasion.
So that makes
different for everyone, I think.
It makes great sense to me because, like, since quarantine, I think my favorite meal just about has been when we ordered off of whatever it was, one of those online services, when we ordered muffaladas. What is it? What is that place in New Orleans? The grocer, what is it? Republic Grocer or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, whatever it is. But anyway, we ordered them and we just had so much fun having like something completely different like that. And I enjoyed it so much. I actually sent some to Jillian and her family as well.
Yeah, and we had them for 2 dinners. They were so big.
They were like, the size of your head.
That's crazy. I had no idea they mailed them. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's super expensive because they have to overnight ship them in like, ice packs and stuff. Right. In fact, it was $150 for 2 sandwiches.
Wait a minute, hold on. But it's not like a sandwich like this.
No, it's like a
pie.
But they're like $15 if you drive down to New Orleans and get them.
Yeah, but hold on. My entire family.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't say it was
ate them. Actually, and that's the thing. We had one night, and then we had one the next night. All 5 of us, we shared one muffalata one night, and then shared the next one the next night. So it was like It was huge. Yeah, it was absolutely enormous. But you brought up some interesting points, which is that like maybe what we really should be doing is just finding days and then treating those days like special occasions. Like today, I had to yell at my kid at 2:00. Get dressed, put some clothes on, like maybe, and then he goes and puts clothes on, and he puts on sweatpants and a t-shirt, and like there is no getting dressed in this house anymore. Right. And maybe we should use the dinner party as a means to get dressed,
Right. It's true. Well, thank you for having me on, because this is as dressed as I've gotten in a very long time.
That's
you know what I mean? I remember when I was a kid and I insisted we had like one night a week be like special family dinner and games. I was insistent on playing games, my poor parents. But we did all dress up, and it was exciting for me as a kid. I don't know what they thought, but then you picked out something. And so that's another way of sort of recapturing the magic, and also like have other people. I mean, this isn't practical for everybody, and sometimes you reach the end of the day and you're just like, we need food and I'm going to do it. But if you can assign people and be like, that is your night and you can cook whatever weird thing you want, and the rest of us are going to eat it, and we're going to act like we have come to some crazy restaurant or whatever. That's another possibility for mixing things up, is just making somebody else cook or letting somebody else cook. I'm usually like the bossy cook in our house, because I'm good at rolling down to the kitchen being like, all right, what do we have? All right, I'll make
that is so cool.
With some warning, like I can then go to, my husband is a great cook. Oh, I see what you're doing there.
No, I didn't actually mean to, but see, this is I felt bad, so I was Googling it to see. I was like, what was that place called? I feel like I need to tell people. It was Central Grocery, and it was Goldbelly. So if people want to buy them, that's how they get them.
Well, go ahead.
I recommend, on this tip of like getting things shipped across the country, we have become addicts of Lou Malnati's pizza in Chicago, which my husband's from Chicago, and a house guest a few years ago brought us 2 frozen Lou Malnati's pizzas as a house hostess gift, which was hilarious and awesome. Like, who shows up with like frozen pizzas? But they were perfect, and they don't have I didn't even think I liked Chicago style pizza. It's so much cheese.
Is that the guy's real name? I think it is.
I know. Yes.
Lou Malnati. It's not Lou Malnati.
Part of the Illuminati. I don't know.
Oh my God, that is so awesome.
All right. So when are we ordering these and having them shipped to Australia?
I'm going to order a couple of them. I have.
Check it out.
Money. Yeah, order now. You can order a deep dish pizza. Well, listen, but before we go, I want to bring up cookinginrealtime.com is Zora's blog, and you can check that out.
Well, actually, it's her show, right? This is your show.
Well, yeah, it's sort of the show pages for a podcast, but I put down all the recipes. I mean, you could conceivably just read it. You don't have to listen to me.
We like listening to you. That's why we had you on a second time. So.
Thanks. Anyway,
Wow.
I did do some episodes back in the beginning of quarantine that were a little, they're very low tech. Let me just say, I was like, I'm just doing these. I'm not editing them. But they're much more about weeknight cooking. But, you know, if you need to if you're sick and tired of the stuff you're cooking, you might find some inspiration in those. And I think, going into this winter, I'll probably do some more episodes that are much more about like strange stuff you might have time to do now that you are stuck at home. So.
I think I'd like to learn to cook some of the stuff that I've had traveling. Like, I think I'm gonna just try to like figure that out. Like, just to sort of, because I miss travel too, right? Like, I miss the dinner parties, but I miss the travel stuff. So like, you know, if I can make myself, you know, some Egyptian street food or something, like it might be worth it. Or ugali for some reason. That stuff is terrible. Like, I don't know if you've had ugali. It's like, you know, like a corn mash. It's not very good, but I suddenly want to try to learn to make it. So
and why not? Yeah, that's another way to make like a special occasion, and maybe there's a cooking class for it. Who knows? Anyway, now you're giving me ideas for what to do for my next round of cooking in real time.
Okay, well, if you make some Egyptian food, just freeze it and mail it to me.
The last time I was in Egypt, I spent most of the time at my friend's house, and his mom like gave me hardcore classes. So I should go through a lot of those. Anyway,
we're definitely gonna hang out in 2022 when the coronavirus is done. I used to say 2021, but it's so quick. I don't know. It's like next week.
2022 seems safe.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So you're in New York, right? Is that right? Yeah. So it's pretty shut down there too, I think. Still, so
it's pretty. I don't even keep up with like what the latest rules are because I just stay home.
Yeah, we've had 2 New York City guests in a row now, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, 3 actually. Jillian, did you know that? How exciting! Yeah, we had last week. We had a bonus guest, so we actually did 2 shows last week, and so.
Nice.
Yeah, we had Dr. Jamil, who's in New York somewhere, and then and TJ Miller, the comedian. So it was a crazy busy week. Yeah, it was a good show. You should check both of them out. They're both great people, and they're apparently neighbors of yours. So
I was gonna say, if it's a comedian, I'm sure they live in Astoria. So
I invite them over for a dinner party.
I know. They can stay on the sidewalk.
Well, thank you so much, Zora, for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate it. I think I'm going to march into my house after this is over and declare that we're going to have a dinner party within the house with my family and find something special to make and make my kids get dressed.
I think that is a great mission.
I think you should too. Yeah. I think my dogs will probably stay the way they are, though. I might crack open some wet food for them, though.
You and your wife could do something, though.
Oh, we could, yeah, we could. We actually we cooked this year more than our entire marriage. Actually, I'm pretty confident because we're like go out to eat 7 to 12 times a week kind of people, and this year that's not really been the case.
Right.
Yeah, so we've definitely cooked a lot more. It's probably much healthier for us. I even baked some bread early in the shutdown, like from scratch, flour, yeast, the whole thing. So
that's exciting. It is.
Yeah, it was actually
new skills. So
yeah, no, that's what I thought. I was like, hey, the world shut down. I might as well learn to bake bread.
Right.
You never know when that'll come in handy. Because they might be not selling bread at the grocery store next week. That's literally what I was thinking. So I just bought some flour. The yeast was really hard to come by back then, though.
I remember that.
Fortunately, I was able to track some yeast down. So
on the black market yeast. Well, we don't want to keep you any longer, Zora. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody stick around and Jeff and I will wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Thanks
Great
again.
talking to you guys. Take care.
You too.
Jillian,
We have to have Zora. I feel bad because I feel like that woman's full of information.
I know.
That we can't even get into right now because it's like just depressing.
Yes, we should definitely have Zora on in January to tell us about how to throw Valentine's Day parties or something.
I think we're gonna just let Zora stay where she is, not bring her on so that she can tell us what we might be able to do a year from now.
Well, we're gonna have to make her make videos about how to cook like koshery, which is
that would be good.
Food. And then we'll do like a last life ever like Egyptian cooking class or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll do it on our Zoom and Zora can just talk the whole time so she doesn't have to worry about the microphone issue. It'll just be always Zora talking.
Well, I want to mention her book again. It's How to Have a Dinner Party Without Freaking Out, right? I feel like I always screw up the name. Zora O'Neill. It's available on Amazon. I'm trying to get the link here for everybody right now. Without having a nervous breakdown. Sorry, I kept saying freaking out, but it's How to Have a Dinner Party Without Having a Nervous Breakdown. Poor Zora's like, oh, we screwed up my book name. And you can get it on Kindle. It's really inexpensive on Kindle. So I'm buying it right now. Look at that.
Excellent. Good job. You should share the link with people so they can buy it also. Because I didn't Google it right now or Amazon it or whatever you do when you're looking for Kindle books. I kind of want to track down the like print version just because I think it's got a cool name.
To have it like on your How to Have a Dinner Party Without Having a Nervous Breakdown. Just look for it on Amazon, guys.
Yeah, just look up Zora O'Neill, and while you're there, get her other book too, All Strangers Are Kin. I wasn't joking; it's a great book. If you didn't catch the episode before, we'll try to tag it in the show notes so you can look at it. But otherwise, just find Zora O'Neill on Last Life Ever, and you can hear about how she spent a year traveling around the Middle East, and it was amazing. She was one of my favorite guests up until that point. And she remains one of my favorite guests.
Ah, that's sweet. I like that.
No, I mean, one of, like, I didn't say like top 3 or something. So hopefully she's not still watching, Hey, Jillian, you're in my top 2 favorite hosts of The Last Life Ever.
Okay. So I'm going to tell a joke and we're going to wrap this up.
That was my joke, really.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't very funny.
I have you know what? I can't tell the joke I was going to tell. It's really bad. It's very tasteless. So
is it a cooking joke?
It was, and it was.
Did you get that? That was a joke, right? Like it was tasteless, and I said it was a cooking joke.
Oh yeah.
So it was like a Corona. It was actually like a Corona cooking joke.
Yeah, it kind of was.
Right? Like, because that's a symptom of the coronavirus. Yeah, if I have to explain it, it's not very funny.
All right, I'm going to tell my joke.
Okay, but try to be tasteful about it.
This is a terrible joke.
Listen, I've told the same joke multiple times. I'll tell it again. What's blue and smells like red paint?
Well, I know the answer, but what?
Blue paint.
Nice. All right. So what does
this is Last Life Ever. My name's Jeffrey Holst, and Jillian's going to tell us a joke now. Go ahead.
What does cooking burgers and wives have in common?
I don't think I want to guess.
You should. It's a terrible joke. When the blood starts oozing out, you flip them over to the other side.
Okay. Well, listen, Jillian, I'm glad I didn't tell that joke because they would never forgive me, the world, the whole world. You can kind of get away with it, I think, maybe.
Because Yeah, I hope.
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
just
I don't think anybody's gonna come after me. It's
Yeah,
just a tasteless, one of those tasteless my wife jokes. Okay, everybody, just so you, in case you're wondering. All right, that's it. We're out. I'm Jillian Sidoti. That's Jeffrey Holst, and he's gonna remind you of what?
to live the best version of your last life ever.
Never gonna take my freedom. You're never gonna take